Hello again, everybody. I just watched Daryl's video against Truth Speller. And he brings up Paul when Paul says, I have unceasing anguish in my heart for my kinsmen according to the flesh. Paul's getting further revelation of God's predestination, okay? That God hardens who he wills and he mercies whom he wills. Paul wasn't walking around putting people under the heavy burdens of law, okay? Daryl also says that what Jesus said to deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow me, and Jesus does say that. However, Daryl and the rest of that bunch over there are doing anything but denying themselves. Whoever would save his life would lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. The same shall find it. You can only enter in through Christ. Christ is the door. And he said, if any man enters in through me, he will be saved. And he said, it's my Father's will that you bear much fruit. To bear much fruit does not mean you produce it. It's not sourced within us. It's not what we have to go out and we have to actively do something. This is a result of being within the vine. The same reason why Jesus says, I've said these things to you that my joy might be in you and your joy might be complete. Christ is the fruit. Knowledge of Christ is the fruit. Believing the gospel is fruit. Speaking the gospel is fruit. God says, I create the fruit of lips. Fruit has to do with the things you speak. This is why he said, beware of false teachers. You'll know them by their fruits. Okay? And God says, I create the fruit of the lips, right? So Daryl's coming against Truth Speller, and he might say that he's doing it out of defense of what Truth Speller did. Truth Speller was going against your doctrine, okay? There's nothing that's sourced within ourselves that we can do anything. Christ says, apart from me, you can do nothing, okay? In that same context. So it's the outworking is the will of God, what God does. And it's not us going out there and actively doing anything, because it's by grace and not of works. God works effectually within his elect. Okay? So for him to compare this revelation Paul was getting about God's sovereignty and his divine election, his predestination that he gets in Romans 9, and speaking about Paul was speaking about his brothers, his kinsmen according to the flesh. He had unceasing anguish in his heart. He wasn't strapping a whole bunch of law on them. It was the revelation that it's all in God's hands. That it's not according to him who wills or him who runs, but of God who shows mercy. Thank you, everyone.